Do you sometimes struggle to get started on doing things? Maybe you procrastinate until the last second. Maybe that's because you're pressure prompted and that's just the best way that you get your work done. But maybe if you're not, it just causes you an awful lot of stress. So today I thought I'd take you through some different strategies to help you get over some procrastination. So hello, my name is Kate. I'm the founder of Educated STEM, and today we're going to talk about eating that frog. And so I'm going to just wave this book at you. It's called Eat That Frog. It's by Brian Tracy. It is a great book to kind of read. It has lots of different suggestions for you, and I'm going to take you through a few of the things that I have used quite effectively at times. So the first thing that I think of when eating the frog comes up is that if there is a task that you don't want to do, it might be the easiest task in the world. It might be to place a phone call, to send an email, just to have a conversation with someone, but because you're worried about how it may be taken, how long it will take, maybe you're on the introverted spectrum, so the idea of having a conversation with various people might just be really challenging. So for me, eating the frog means that you do something that you don't particularly want to do the very first thing that you do during the day. So you get to work and you think, yes, I'm going to do this nasty little task that I've been putting off for a while, and it might take you a couple of minutes. It really might not take very long, but it's been stressing you out because the idea of placing that phone call or whatever is just challenging for you. So to me, eating the frog means getting the nasty little task that you don't want to do out of the way immediately. And that then clears up the rest of your day. You're not worrying about, when am I going to have to do this thing? Because the idea behind, if you leave it until later in the day, you might take your sweet time doing your other tasks, maybe subconsciously, maybe consciously, because the longer that takes, you can continue to put off doing the nasty little task that you don't want to do. So for me, getting that horrible little thing out of the way immediately, it's gone. Now you can focus on all of the other things which aren't quite as stressful. In this book, I believe they talk about it being the most important task that you can do. And obviously you're going to get lots of results. That's going to be your key thing that you're going to get the maximum number of results from. So you do that first, which I also think is good. In my mind, I prefer getting the nasty little thing out of the way, and then I can turn my attention, because it's often not the most important thing that I'm putting off. It might be sending a bill or something, which it's never nice to send a bill, but it is also nice to get paid. So, bit of both worlds. So first thing, either get the worst thing or the most important thing done in the day. Another thing you can do is to break larger tasks down into smaller chunks. So if you're in academia and you're watching this and you're thinking, yes, I have a task which is like write and submit a grant, or write and submit a paper. And those tasks take a long time, and there's many different key components in it. So you could write down, and this is what I do. I have a large thing and I have at the top, write grant, and then I break it down into the introduction, the different sections that you have to write. If you have to request letters of support from various people, you want to do that sooner rather than later, because that gives them enough time to write those things for you. And then as you go through, you kind of check them off, and that's what I enjoy doing, is yes, I've done that. It gives me a nice little boost of endorphins because I've achieved something and it's gone, it's done. I can move on to the next task. So even when I was at the bench and I was the blotting queen, so I did lots of Western blots, I did lots of microscopy, and all of them had exactly the same things. Run the gel, move it onto the membrane, then you have to incubate it in various different buffers with and without antibodies for different times, blah, blah, blah. And so I always used to sit there and kind of would check them off. Like, this is wash 1, wash 2, wash 3. So if someone interrupted me, I knew exactly where I was in the technique because I had it literally a little note in front of me so I couldn't possibly mess it up. I know other people who would move tubes around or whatever so that they knew which one they had added a sample to, or whatever helps you figure out what you have done, just to make sure that you get through your list. So if you've done kind of breaking things up into chunks, so for a technique, then you can easily turn that round and do that for writing something or, writing a presentation or whatever it is. So just make it into smaller, more manageable chunks. And then it's just not as overwhelming. Today, all you need to do is, and it might not even be to finish the introduction, just begin the introduction, or, reread some of the articles that you might want to cite just to make sure that you are putting the correct references in, that sort of thing. So putting them all into smaller chunks. Another thing that you can do is to just plan ahead. So if I know that I've got a day which is going to be constantly interrupted, then that is going to make it challenging for me to sit down and really focus solely on one thing, because people might be running in and out. I might be on Zoom conferences or phone calls or whatever. So on those days, I don't try and do a big, massive project. I will probably sit and edit in shorter videos or do some subtitles or something which I can be interrupted during, and it's not going to completely throw my concentration. So put key tasks on days where you are less busy, and maybe you just have to try and get some quiet time. So I was fortunate. I used to work in my own office. I could close the door, and that was the signal that I was incredibly busy and I didn't want to be interrupted. And I think that definitely helped. If you in a shared office space, maybe this is when you say to people, I am really going to try and focus right now. So if you could possibly not interrupt me, I would appreciate it. Or maybe you can do something from home. I did some writing for my thesis or my dissertation for my PhD at home, and I got a significant done on those days because I was not being constantly interrupted. So whatever it is that may help you, do that. When I used to review applications for summer academy and graduate school, sometimes I would do that at home or later in the evening when I knew people weren't going to be coming into the office to interrupt me, so that I could put my full attention on the application in front of me and that I wasn't going to miss a wonderful candidate because someone had popped in with a question or whatever. There's another technique which might be very beneficial for you. It's called the Pomodoro technique. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Apologies if I'm not. But basically, you work for a short period of time and then you take a break. So in this particular one, it's 25 minutes of focused work, no interruptions. You're not checking your email, your phone, or anything. 25 minutes of solid focused work on that particular thing, and then you can take a very small break. I've also seen that if you're really struggling to just get started and 25 minutes just seems overwhelming, even just trying a very short period of time, so 5 or even 10 minutes to kind of do like a splurge to just get something started. And it's really helpful once you start and you begin to make progress, that you can actually then continue because you're building momentum. So it's not as difficult to get started. Like, yes, I have a product. So if you're writing a brand new presentation, so I used to do this every year for the Summer Academy. The person who started the Academy, Dr. Roberts, he would challenge me at the beginning of each spring. He would give me sort of a topic he wanted me to cover because I always gave an hour seminar. And that topic may or may not be on something that I was familiar with. So I think probably my favorite one that he set me was to talk about how insulin was manufactured so that it could actually be given to a person. So the first step of making it, so kind of getting the DNA so that you could then code it and then make it into a protein. How did that happen? So funnily enough, this was all happening prior to me being born and kind of a couple of years after I was born. So we're going back a decent amount. And it also happened at the institution that I was working for at the time. So I knew some of the players who did this wonderful work. And so he said, wouldn't it be wonderful if you did this presentation, you talked about the manufacture of insulin, how that all came about, and then you invite the people who did the work. They can come and see you talk, and then we can all have lunch and the students can ask them about all of these things. And obviously it was terrifying because I was presenting the work with the people who, one of them was a National Academy of Science member, very esteemed scientists, and I had to give this presentation in front of them. And it was a wonderful experience. They were very, very sweet about the whole thing. But starting to do that, I, didn't work in diabetes. I did not know any of the stuff about insulin. It was completely brand new. And so writing that, you start PowerPoint presentation, first slide, the story of insulin, and then next slide, what is diabetes, and then kind of go into diabetes and insulin and all that kind of fun stuff. And so once you start, it all kind of comes together again. But it was always fun. I always used to kind of look forward and simultaneously dread the meeting with Dr. and Mrs. Roberts, where they would then kind of tell me, this is the task we would love you to tackle this year. Because I always knew it was going to be challenging fun is how I would describe it. And so I used to use some of these techniques to kind of jumpstart myself into this task, which I looked forward to and also worried about every single spring and summer. And they always turned out well. I always learned a lot. And it was very sweet, I think, of Dr. Roberts to give me this challenge. It got me out of my kind of comfort zone and I had to learn new things. So hopefully some of these techniques will help you procrastinate less. And unless you are one of those people who really enjoys the pressure, these techniques will really, really help you. And just notice that if you are one of the people who is pressure prompted and you work with other people, I used to work with a lovely professor, and I really enjoyed working with him. He was fabulous, but he was definitely pressure prompted, whereas I'm less so. I like to kind of nibble at the task all the way along so that there's not a huge push at the end. And so it's been known when we've had to do something for a Monday. I've been trying to work on something for the past couple of weeks, but without his input, it was challenging. And then he would usually turn to it on like the Thursday or the Friday before it was due. And I've had so many late nights, Friday nights, where I'm like frantically doing things for him. But that's just the way that he worked. He wasn't being malicious. He wasn't mean. It was just the way that he functioned. And I think that because I know the MBTI, I understood it. I realized that that's just the way he was and that he wasn't trying to royally mess up my life. Because the first few times it felt malicious, and then I just realized, oh, it's Mike. And so if you are one of those people and you're working with other people, it might be nice for you to consider how they like to work. It would have been great for him to realize if I could talk to you a few weeks in advance, so I can kind of break the task down into small things so it's less stressful. But when you'd ask him, can we meet? Yes, we'll do it. And then obviously once it became urgent, it then had his full attention. So just consider it. Procrastination might be wonderful for you if you're pressure prompted, but it might also be rather stressful. And if you're working in a team, then it's going to really affect everyone around you. So have I done everything? Oh yes, there's something called the ABCDE method. So before you start doing things, write a list of the tasks that you need to achieve and put them in an order of value or priority. So these are the things that are maybe the most urgent or the most important, and then you go through your task list in that. So that's the ABCDE method. There's something called the 80-20 rule, which says that 20% of your activities will account for 80% of your results. So you should always concentrate your efforts on that top 20%. So let's think about all the different things and what is going to get you the most bang for your buck. And then also similarly applying the law of 3. So you identify 3 things that you do in your work that account for 90% of your contribution and focus on getting them done before you turn to anything else. And then you can have more time theoretically for other things, especially your home life, right? We all work to live, hopefully, not live to work. So it's just something that you might want to consider. So maybe you are going to be rewarding yourself for doing something, whether that's a small reward. You can have a cup of tea, you can have a 5-minute break, you can have a chocolate bar or a gummy, or you can go for lunch, or whatever reward this is. Maybe it's a massive task. So you're like, yes, after I submit this grant, I am going to get, a massage. I am going to go and purchase this item that you've been looking forward to. I'm going to take a vacation, whatever it is. So you have this reward in mind. Similarly, you could say, okay, there's a punishment. If I don't manage to achieve this thing, then I'm not going to allow myself to have that cup of tea, chocolate bar, vacation, massage, or whatever it is that you've decided that you are going to treat yourself with, reward yourself if you have done it. So just think. Now, I've given you a lot of things to talk about, a few different techniques, and some of them might work, some of them might be less effective for you. You're going to have to go and try them and see what works for you. And maybe it just depends on the scenario. So some things will be more effective at certain times than others. And you're just going to have to try them and figure out what's best for you, because what works for me might not work for you. And that's completely fine. We're completely different people. So I hope that helps. Remember to go and eat that frog. And again, this is the book. So go and grab a copy of it if you are more interested in becoming more efficient and getting those tasks done without procrastinating too much. I hope that helped, and please like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.